You're listening to a community story from Be My Eyes.
My name is Chong Yao. I was born in Hong Kong and became totally blind at the age of 6. Right now, I'm running an NGO on environmental concern. It is called CarbonCare Innolab. So this is an organization based on a mission to fight climate change. I have been in NGO sector for many years. So I worked for Oxfam Hong Kong. I was the executive director of Oxfam Hong Kong. And so I became its fundraising director first, and then its executive director in the year 2000. I also worked for the Hong Kong government for a few years. I was the what they call administrative officer grade, and in English civil servants standard. That's the highest grade of government officials. So I was the assistant secretary for education and assistant secretary for home affairs. But then I discovered that I was more suited for NGO sector, and that's why I left the government to join the Oxfam. As I grew up in the blindness community, obviously I was committed to disability rights. So from very early on, I was an active advocate. So in my voluntary capacity, I have been on the board of the Hong Kong Blind Union. I've been to the World Blind Union. I was on the executive board. I was the vice president of the Asia Pacific region of the World Blind Union in 1988 to 1996, and also in the past several years as well. So I am still active. I'm still on the board of the Asia Pacific region. I find it a lifelong interest to pursue different possibilities and gain satisfaction in the failure and success of many of these ventures. Should not be led by physical disabilities in judging a person's ability. So, for example, when Oxfam hired me as an fundraising director, I organized Oxfam's first swimming crew to Yunnan province in China. So it has nothing to do with blindness, okay? It's an ability to organize, and you have to deal with officials, you have to deal with the crew, the creative, the filming, and so on and so forth. So it's an organizer's job, nothing to do with your ability to see. People look at visual impairment and then derive, their judgment on abilities that has to do with your mind, your attitude, your abilities to communicate and organize and make judgment on things. If company make judgment simply on their appearance, then you lose a lot of talents. I think you make a better workforce with people from different backgrounds. So for my own experience, I was in the government and I was working with some of the most, they speak of as cream of society, okay? They only recruit the best people there. But then when they had the chance of working with me on a daily basis, because that increase people's empathy, their ability to see things from different perspectives. And the government sent me to talk to communities about government policies. And I was asked to do exactly the same task as other officials. So I guess my colleagues and the stakeholders that have a chance to work with me have the opportunity of seeing things from a different perspective than before. And you focus on the ability, the task, the work, the personality, and not the visual impairment. And that learning enrich an organization. I don't like people saying employ people with a disability because you are doing good to some sectors of the community. You are also doing good things to yourself because you are actually denying yourself the possibilities of some talents lost because of your discrimination, your stereotypes. Okay, so I think give your workforce a chance to benefit from talents that you didn't realize before, and also give them a diversity that would help the organizations to grow. We were able to convince employers to open up. And there is an increasing openness to accept people with disabilities to be in the workplace. So I have seen more employers seeking out employees with disabilities to work in their mix. So I think things are changing here. But the challenge all over the world, I see that there are common challenges, is that still there are many people who look at people judging their disability more than their abilities. There is a term called deployability, okay? So employer or in HR profession, they sometimes want people to be flexible. So when you say you appear to be a blind person, then they will say, okay, probably you cannot see something, therefore they imagine some of the tasks that you would not be deployed to do. So what happens if something occur, but that something might not be in the normal course of the work? So they are looking at maximum deployability, which you don't need. They should be looking at complementarity. People work together as a team and we complement each other. We work to the best of everything. We try not to ask for change, okay? But there are, of course, issues like we need equipment to read, print, just as sighted people need pen. When I joined the government, we were still using optical. And then later on, we have information technology with computer, we have iPhones, we have assistive technology. So that's the main thing that we need to bring to our workplace. Otherwise, I try to be as independent as others. I would travel by myself. For example, in one case in Oxfam, I went to East Timor to visit the field. And I traveled there by myself, and I was met by a few colleagues at the airport. I wasn't even given an assistance, which in normal airport was available to go out of the airport. So I had to walk by myself from the plane to the customs. So, and I didn't ask for an assistant from the organization from Oxfam to go with me. I decided that I could travel by myself. So I think different blind people, different individuals in different circumstances would need different accommodation. I guess it's just like all employees. So we sometimes highlight too much about the accommodations that is required by people with a disability. To me, it's something that is in a range. Some of the colleagues that join an organizations, depending on their circumstances, they would still want their needs to be addressed. And in modern workplace philosophy, we are trying to respect individual differences as much as possible. So workplace now allow people to work at home, work from home, facilities for accommodating people with children, and so on and so forth. So I guess a diversity in workplace is the best framework for accommodations, and specific accommodations for an individual has to be discussed in that context. In a way, we are influenced by how people see ourselves. So our self-concept may be influenced and even determined by how people look at us. So the first liberalization, self-liberalization, is that don't see yourself as how others see you. So you have the right to determine yourself and to define how you want to be. And we are all born equal. We are equal citizens of societies. So you are first of all yourself, not part of a stereotype that people form and force upon yourselves. So you liberalize yourself, and in that way you help others to liberalize themselves as well. I don't lock myself into a stereotype of a blind person concerned about blindness things. To me, I'm an individual. I'm in itself. I'm Chong first before I'm a blind person. So I have many concerns about society, about human beings, about the future of the world. And I hope we can work for peace and prosperity and the harmonious relationship with nature, and also with equality and freedom and all the values that we treasure.
Thank you for listening to this community story from Be My Eyes. You can share your story too. Send it to mystory@bemyeyes.com. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, download our app, or visit bemyeyes.com/community-stories for more.